Good morning to you. It is July 31st, 2024. So we've already come to the end of this month and we have another month of summer. So I hope that your summer is going well here in the United States. And today will actually probably be my last podcast until either late August or early September. And what I've been doing or wanting to do is to actually have that month off to do a final vacation as well as in prep for our children to return to school and just get them acclimated and transitional. And I think it's great. I've talked about as a life coach, as an integrated nutrition health coach. Um, the importance of balance with life and work. We have so many hats that we wear, not just, being a caregiver, parent, or mother, father, whatever it is, uncle, aunt, so many different roles that we play in life, and that we have to say, okay, am I taking the quality time that I need to reboot, to make sure I'm getting quality rest, to make sure that I'm focusing my energy on a specific time that you need. And over this time, I will continue to work on projects. But I wanted to do this last one for this last month on the creating a generational love cycle, just really kind of breaking that down. And when I think about a cycle, there are many spokes to a cycle, right? To if you look at a wheel, the hub of the wheel and these lines that extend from it. And I think about all the different issues that we deal with um, as a caregiver, our children, in dealing with bullying, dealing with self-esteem, liking themselves, peer pressure, us dealing with just our mindset, making sure we have a roof over our children's head, making sure they have clothes and lifestyle, and just making sure that we're doing what we need to do for ourselves and for the people that we love. And yet we still have, on top of that, so many other issues that are going on. Just recently, violence, an act of violence toward others. And when I look at the root, when I look at the root of the cycle of pain, there are so many things that come to mind. But when you think about it, you think about fear. You think about people having the lack of, or feeling intimidated, or feeling as if, loss of control. Often when we think about wars and we think about land and, we think about loss of control, we think about not feeling valued. And I do think that when I talk about the generational cycle of pain, when I think about, children being, pushed to, um, pushed or even feeling obligated to live out their parents' life because they felt like, well, you didn't get to do it, so I'm gonna do it for you. In other words, our parents saying, no, this is who we are, this family, this tradition, and this is what you have to continue to do. When you think about arranged marriages, when you think about cultures and different traditions, and how people are brought into that and feeling obligated out of fear, out of wanting to please others, that or even feeling like they don't want to, they don't want to rock the boat, they want to keep the peace, and yet still they're dying inside, they're having an internal war inside of themselves of wanting to keep the peace tradition. And also to this part of them say, you are more than that, this is why you're here, and feeling torn between that. When we think about teenage pregnancy, we think about the love, even the inner hatred, or feeling like we have to bring someone in the world to love us because we don't feel loved, or even feeling like, our parents didn't do a well enough job and I'm going to do better. The cursing that we hear with generations, the frustration, the anger, working for jobs that we're in careers that we're not passionate about, doing the tradition 9 to 5 and just working and caring for our family and not realizing, not meeting our own needs, um, or just, feeling like we have to go to college and, you can't do art and music and dance and sing if you're not that good at it, if you don't have these titles. Not everybody makes it in that industry, basketball, whatever it may be. We think about career, we think about spirituality and what that means, and the divisiveness that we see, and who to call this higher power. We think about greed. We think about taking over, dominating others instead of allowing them to be who they are. So many different spokes to the cycle of pain, and my aim is to just share what I've learned about it, seeing the different experiences and the observations, and coaching others, and just really trying to break the cycle of pain by creating a generational love cycle, by addressing emotions and feelings. What I learned a long time ago, that it's so important for you to address your emotion and feelings to heal from the inside out, because if you don't, you continue to carry that pain into generations. And you see, angry people, and I shouldn't say angry as in labeling, but you see people that are really struggling with mastering their emotions and feelings. They have not healed, have these wounds that are still fresh and have not healed since their childhood. And that's where a lot of that stem from, is our unhealed wounds, our unmet desires, our unfulfilled expectations that we have. Those that projected pain from others that we thought were supposed to be there to guide us and direct us, and yet still they haven't healed from their wounds. And so when we think about the cycle of pain, when we think about the hub, the one thing that comes to mind is that the perception of thought is at the hub of the cycle of pain. It continues because of our perception of projected pain, our perception of they did this to me, our perception of not healing, feeling resentful, feeling angry, feeling shameful, doubtful of yourself, lack of life and meaning, just really feeling like you're a victim instead of seeing that that person did the best they could, did what they did based on their perception. And I was just getting ready to say that, because that's you hear about that cliche. Someone even told me they did the best that they knew how to do. And I believe that somewhere in their wiring, somewhere, and it could be something that was passed down, socialization, that plays a part of it too. I don't know if it's so much the best that they can do, but maybe the best with the information that they have, the best with the upbringing, the mental constructs that they had. And the way that we break the cycle of pain is that we evaluate, we look at our thoughts, the thoughts that we consistently have. We take a break from that, because when you're rushing throughout the day, and America is known for rushing, many of us rushing around, working this job, taking care of people, we go home, we take care of our family. We don't even have time sometimes to really unwind, or feel like we don't have time. But it's when we have to make time, even the 5 minutes on the toilet, in the bathroom, 5 minutes in the mirror, brushing our teeth, to address that mindset that we have, to when those thoughts do come, if you're able to write them down, to make a note of that, and say, I need to address this. And if you're able to address it on your lunch break, the sooner actually the better, that we can address those thoughts and say, I really need to evaluate this, because this is something that is circulating in my mind and therefore affecting how I treat myself and how I treat others. When we talk about obesity, heart disease, other cycles of pain, and how we have forgotten who we are, that we eat ourselves literally to death, that we stuff our emotions inside of us, that we overnourish in our bodies, not even with quality food, but with food that doesn't last long. So we wonder why we're hungry. It's not life sustaining food. It's the chemical stuff that we have, and the fast food that we put inside of our bodies, and we're like, well, I just had this big Mac meal, or I had this huge taco serving, and I'm still starving, you know. And that starving is not food starving. That starving is more, I believe, of a spiritual starving, that we are not becoming who we are, and that we are substituting, just like the food, we're substituting things in our lives to cover up this void that we feel inside of us. And I believe that we all have gifts and talents, divine gifts and talents that are within us that may take a little longer to express, or we may automatically know and start in childhood. My goal is that everyone starts in childhood and know exactly why they're here. But I know that we go through life, through different things that really help to refine who we are. In the Bible, we're given so many different situations, and even in life, where people have really awakened, if you will, in a late age, over 50. There's a book that is out about those people that really started living their life's purpose after 50. And so we all have things that we know wasn't the best, as a child. We all have things that we probably still, circulate in our mind, or still eventually come up somehow during a conversation, during a song, during whatever it may be. And I believe, and I've said it before, that, even the quote unquote, what they use as triggers, I believe they're, because they're term triggers, they elicit a response of anxiety. And I believe that when we're talking about pain or projected pain, these triggers are actually opportunities for us to go within and address that communication system, that communication foundation that we have inside of us, that brings about those physical responses of palpitations, of sweatiness, trembling, nightmares, whatever it may be. That it is a way that we can rewire ourselves if we allow ourselves to be in that moment and really say, hey, this is not me. And that's what I found myself saying. This is not me. This is not who I am. And when we interrupt that flow, we have a way of resetting ourselves to the divine individuals that we are. And so it's really, taking time, making the time to say, wait, even though you can't pause everything around you, but I need to assess these thoughts that I'm consistently carrying within me, because beyond my actions, if you're having anything, whether it's being overweight, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, indigestion, heartburn, tumors, cancer cells, whatever it may be that you are dealing with right now in your life, there's an underlying thought pattern that continues to trickle throughout your nervous system and infect your organs, your cell on a cellular level. That anything that does not belong will eventually grow untamed throughout your body until we really get to the root of the cause. Medicine is there, yes, to help reduce, I believe, many times the effects of something. But ultimately, and I believe Hippocrates and many other people have felt this way, but ultimately it is our responsibility to dig deep into our mental constructs, our thought patterns, and say, what can I do on my part to help my body heal, to help put it in a harmonious way, help it to do the work that it is here to do, and that is to sustain us while while we live life, while we carry out this divine mission of expressing the truth, being a mirror for truth through everything and every relationship that we have. And I know that it's hard, but It's a humbling experience to say, okay, there's something going on inside of me, and I need to get to the root of it. And I believe ultimately that is true love. There's something going on, acknowledging the truth about yourself and willing to do the work, the internal work, to say, I am worthy of this work. And I know there is some projected pain that I'm holding on to, and I need to put it in its rightful place. I need to understand that those that projected their pain on me did not know how to handle their pain. And it doesn't excuse them, no one, but it helps you to put yourself in a way that you can be all that you are, that you can become the divine individual, spiritual, divine spirit, and personality aligned with one, and live that abundant life. Don't you deserve it? We deserve happiness. We deserve to be free. And these are affirmations I say to myself. I deserve freedom. I deserve happiness. I deserve to do the work that I am here to do. You know, we have in our minds that we're supposed to, this is because others have lived their lives like this, that we're supposed to do that. And it's not so. And I've shared that those lessons I've learned from my mom, just because somebody else goes through something, doesn't mean you have to. And that's a major myth that we need to let go. Because you did it, because you went through it, I have to. You don't have to. You have the right to live your life according to that divine blueprint that is inside of you. And that's what I tell my children. Every opportunity that I get to reinforce divine principles, to reinforce you have the right to be happy, you have the right to ask for what you want, you have the right to do the right thing, and they see the flow, the fruit of those thoughts in my life. And I definitely try my best as an adult, as a caregiver, as a spiritual being, to show them, do you see what just happened? To help them make those links. And it's happened more than once, but to make those links that life doesn't have to be hard. That if you do right things can come to you, and that you can help create the life that you want. Because our children see too much and they get to thinking that's the way, bullying, pushing, fighting. But it's not. Struggling with their health, mentally, physically, socially. But it's not. That they too can undo those spokes in the generational cycle and create the legacy that they want. It's worth it. You're worth it. Our children are worth it. The next generations are worth it. And the sooner we wake up and realize what is really going on here in the world, what is really on an individual level, because it's individual before it is collective consciousness. But if that we can sit back and really look at, spend a few moments a day of really looking at what are those pain points in my life? And how have I, through my mental thoughts, my mind, how have I contributed to them? How am I contributing to the people that I attract in my life, my relationships, my career, my free time, my anger, my resentment, my shame, my guilt? How am I contributing to that? Because once we take responsibility, accountability for what we do, not what other people do, but what we do with our lives, then we start seeing the change. Then we can create a generational love cycle. This is Tamika Chambers with Create a Generational Love Cycle. You have the right to live an abundant life. You have the right to create the life you want. You have the right to do the work you want. You have the right to be happy. You deserve respect, and you deserve to be in optimal health to do the work that you're here to do. I'll talk to you guys soon. For now, make it a great summer, and thank you so much for listening.